Commander Lee Tejo stood in the Great Hall of the Galaxy Council, his uniform crisp and his face calm. Around him, 12 alien species sat in their towering chairs looking down at him like he was a child. The hall was massive, built to make visitors feel small and powerless. It worked on most species, but Lee had seen worse things than scary architecture. The hegemony leader, Counselor Vextar, spoke first. His reptilian voice echoed through the chamber. "Human Lee Tejo, your species has grown too bold. You forget your place in this galaxy." Lee kept his hands behind his back and said nothing. He had learned long ago that silence made aliens nervous. They expected humans to babble and beg. Lee would do neither. "Your people have been building ships," another counselor hissed. This one looked like a giant insect. "Ships that you did not ask permission to build." "We asked," Lee replied simply. "You said no. We built them anyway to protect our trade routes." Angry clicking sounds filled the hall. The counselors whispered to each other in their various languages. Lee understood most of them, but he pretended not to. Let them think humans were stupid. It had served humanity well for 50 years. Dr. Park So-young sat in the human observer section, taking notes on her tablet. She looked like any other scientist, quiet and focused. The aliens had no idea she was recording everything they said. Her translation software was far better than anything the council used. While they thought they were speaking privately, she was learning their plans. Counselor Vextar raised one clawed hand. The hall fell silent. "The council has decided. Humanity will surrender all military vessels within one galactic cycle. Your people will accept protectorate status. 80% of your population will relocate to designated work colonies." Lee felt his jaw tighten, but his face remained calm. Work colonies. They meant slave camps. The council had done this to 17 other species. Most had accepted quietly. A few had fought and been wiped out. "You will serve the greater good of the galaxy," Vextar continued. "Your aggressive nature will be controlled through proper guidance." "Guidance," Lee repeated. "Like you guided the Keltar species?" The hall went very quiet. Nobody talked about the Keltar anymore. They had refused the council's offer. Now their homeworld was a radioactive wasteland. "The Keltar chose poorly," said another counselor. "This one was made of living crystal and spoke in musical tones. We hope humanity will be wiser." Lee looked around the hall. 12 species, each one older and more advanced than humanity. Each one certain that humans were just clever animals. They had made their first mistake 50 years ago, when they let humans join the council as junior members. Their second mistake was happening right now. "We request the standard grace period," Lee said. "One galactic cycle to prepare for transition." The counselors looked surprised. They had expected anger, threats, maybe even tears. Instead, the human was asking for the legal minimum time to comply. Vextar's yellow eyes narrowed with suspicion. "You accept these terms?" "We accept that this is your decision," Lee replied carefully. "We ask only for time to prepare our people." Dr. Park looked up from her tablet. She caught Lee's eye for just a moment. Her slight nod told him everything he needed to know. The secret project was ready. They just needed time to put it in motion. "Very well," Vextar said. 6 of your months." "No more," Lee bowed formally. The human delegation thanks the council for its wisdom. As the session ended, Lee walked slowly from the hall. Dr. Park fell into step beside him, along with Captain Kim Hyun-woo, who had been waiting outside. Kim was young for a ship captain, but he was the best pilot humanity had ever produced. They said nothing until they reached their shuttle. Space was dark around the council station, but Lee could see the shapes of alien warships in the distance. They had been positioning themselves around human space for weeks. The council had planned this for a long time. Did it work? Kim asked as soon as the shuttle doors closed. Dr. Park smiled and held up her tablet. Every word recorded. Every private conversation translated. "They have no idea we understand their languages as well as we do." "And the other thing?" Lee asked. "All ready," Park replied. "The quantum communicators are in place. The moment you give the signal, every human colony will know the real plan." Lee looked out at the alien ships again. "They think we're scared animals. They think we'll roll over and show our bellies, won't we?" Kim asked. He was young enough to joke even now. "Oh, we'll show them our bellies," Lee said quietly, "right before we tear their throats out." The shuttle began its journey back to human space. Behind them, the council station grew smaller. Lee thought about the message he would send soon. Not to the council, but to Admiral Choi Min-ho, who was waiting in the shadows with ships the aliens had never seen. Humanity had spent 50 years playing the role of grateful junior partners. They had traded peacefully, shared some technology, and seemed to accept their place at the bottom of the galactic order. What the Council didn't know was that humans had been learning, studying, preparing. Every human trader who visited alien worlds was also a spy. Every diplomatic mission gathered intelligence. Every peaceful exchange of technology gave humanity new ways to fight. The Council thought they were watching a weak species slowly growing stronger. They had no idea they were watching humanity prepare for war. Dr. Park's research had unlocked secrets of alien biology that the species themselves had forgotten. Engineer Baek Ji-woo had used stolen alien technology to build weapons the Council couldn't imagine. Spy Master Yoon Da-yoon had placed agents throughout the galaxy, all waiting for orders. And Admiral Choi had built a shadow fleet using every trick humanity had learned in 50 years of being underestimated. Ships that could hide from alien sensors, weapons that could adapt to alien defenses, tactics based on human history and alien weaknesses. The Council had just declared war on humanity. They thought it would be quick and easy. They thought humans would surrender like the other species had. They were about to learn that humans were nothing like the other species. Lee activated his personal communicator as Earth came into view. "Protocol Phoenix is now active," he said simply. "May God have mercy on their souls because we won't. 6 months. That's all humanity needed to show the galaxy what happened when you cornered the most dangerous predators in the universe." Admiral Choi Min-ho watched the holographic display in his hidden command center. 47 human ships moved through space like ghosts, invisible to alien sensors. Each ship carried weapons that could crack open alien hulls like eggs. But they weren't ready to use them yet. "Status report," Choi said to his communications officer. "All Shadow Fleet units in position, Admiral." "The aliens still don't know we exist," Choi smiled grimly. "The aliens thought they were so smart, surrounding human colonies with their massive warships. They had no idea that humanity's real fleet was already behind them, waiting in the darkness between stars." On Earth, engineer Baek Ji-woo worked in her secret laboratory deep underground. Around her, teams of human scientists studied alien technology that had been borrowed over the past 50 years. Every peaceful trade mission had brought back samples. Every diplomatic meeting had included hidden scanners recording alien tech. "The adaptive nanoweapons are ready," Beck reported to Dr. Park over their quantum communicator. "They'll reconfigure based on whatever alien biology they encounter. No shields, no armor, no healing factor will protect them." Dr. Park nodded from her own lab. She had spent decades studying alien physiology, learning how each species' bodies worked. The Council species thought their biology was secret. They were wrong. Human doctors had been treating alien friends for years, learning exactly where each species was vulnerable. "And the communication networks?" Park asked. "Quantum entangled and unbreakable," Beck replied. "The aliens can't intercept our signals because they don't understand the technology. They're still using radio waves like primitives." Meanwhile, Spy Master Yoon Da-eun sat in a cafe on the hegemony homeworld, drinking something that tasted like battery acid. To everyone watching, she was just another human trader trying to make a living. Nobody knew she was the most dangerous woman in the galaxy. Her tablet chimed softly. A message from her network of agents, all of them harmless humans scattered across alien space. Diplomats, traders, workers, tourists. The aliens saw them every day and never suspected they were all soldiers in an invisible army. The message was simple. Package delivered. Another piece of human technology had been quietly installed in an alien facility. For years, humans had been offering gifts to their alien friends. Small devices that improved efficiency or provided useful data. The aliens had accepted them gratefully, never realizing they were planting the seeds of their own destruction. Captain Kim Hyun-woo piloted his ship toward the Council's outer territories, his cargo hold full of trade goods. In reality, the goods were cover for the most sophisticated spy mission in galactic history. Hidden in fake containers were the components for a communication relay that would let humanity coordinate attacks across thousands of light years instantly. "Approaching the checkpoint," his navigator reported. Kim straightened his trader's jacket and put on a nervous smile. The aliens expected humans to be intimidated by their inspections. He would give them exactly what they expected to see. The alien inspector was a tall, blue-skinned creature with 4 arms. Purpose of visit? It asked in broken human language. Trading mission, Kim replied, making his voice shake slightly. Bringing industrial components to the Nexus station. The inspector looked through Kim's cargo manifest. Every item was exactly what it claimed to be. The hidden components were built into the industrial equipment itself, invisible to standard scans. Proceed, the alien said dismissively. Kim's ship docked at the massive alien station. He spent 3 days there playing the role of a nervous trader trying to make deals. What he was really doing was installing quantum communicators in the station's core systems. When the time came, humanity would be able to shut down the alien communication network with a single command. Back on Earth, President Ryu Jae-sung addressed the human colonies in what appeared to be a surrender speech. The Council has spoken, he said sadly. We must accept their wisdom and prepare for relocation. Across human space, people began what looked like preparations for surrender. Ships were loaded with personal belongings. Families said tearful goodbyes. Colonial governments started shutting down their operations. To any alien observers, it looked like humanity was accepting defeat. But the aliens weren't seeing the whole picture. The ships being loaded weren't just carrying belongings. They were carrying weapons and military equipment disguised as civilian supplies. The families saying goodbye were actually receiving final mission briefings. The colonial governments weren't shutting down. They were activating hidden defensive systems that had been built in secret over decades. General Han Seok-jin coordinated the deception from his command bunker on Mars. Every human move was carefully planned to look like surrender while actually preparing for war. It was the largest military deception in galactic history, and the aliens were falling for it completely. Phase 2 complete, reported his aide. All colonies report ready for defensive operations. And the alien response? Han asked. They're moving more ships into position around our worlds. They think we're helpless, Han studied the tactical display. Alien fleets surrounded every human colony, ready to enforce the Council's will. What they didn't know was that each human world was now a fortress, armed with weapons the aliens had never seen. And behind every alien fleet, Admiral Choi's shadow ships waited in the darkness. Dr. Kang Yoon-ji made final adjustments to her masterpiece, a weapon that could destroy planets if necessary. She hoped it would never be used. But humanity had learned hard lessons from studying what happened to species that couldn't defend themselves. The world killers are ready, she reported to General Han. If they try to glass our worlds like they did to the Keltar, we can return the favor. The message went out through quantum networks to every human ship and colony, not in words but in a simple numeric code that meant ready for war. The aliens monitoring human communications saw only random data, never realizing they were watching humanity's final preparations. Lieutenant Commander Lim Young-soo led his fighter squadron through what appeared to be routine patrol exercises. The aliens watching thought they were seeing normal human military training. They didn't realize they were watching the final rehearsal for the most devastating coordinated attack in galactic history. 3 days before the deadline, Councillor Theckmore sent an urgent message to the Council. Something is wrong, he reported. The humans are too calm, too organized. This doesn't feel like surrender. But the other councillors dismissed his concerns. You're being paranoid, Vextar replied. They're just a young species trying to maintain dignity in defeat. Look at their actions, not your fears. The actions looked exactly like surrender. Human ships were moving toward designated evacuation points. Colonial governments were transferring power to council representatives. Military units were standing down their weapons. Every visible sign pointed to complete compliance with council demands. What the council couldn't see was the invisible network of quantum communicators connecting every human in the galaxy. The Shadow Fleet positioning itself around alien strongholds. The hidden weapons powered up and ready to fire. The nanovirus is already spreading through alien technology. Admiral Choi received the final signal from Commander Lee. Execute Protocol Phoenix. All units, Choi transmitted to his Shadow Fleet. Prepare for revelation. In 6 hours, we remind the galaxy why you never corner a predator. The countdown began. The aliens thought they had won the easiest conquest in galactic history. In 6 hours, they would learn they had just triggered the most devastating war the galaxy had ever seen. The moment came at exactly 1200 hours Galactic Standard Time. Across 47 star systems, humanity revealed its true face to the galaxy. Admiral Choi Min-ho stood on the bridge of his flagship as it dropped out of stealth mode. Around him, 46 other human ships appeared from nothing, materializing like deadly ghosts inside alien defensive perimeters. The aliens had been watching empty space. Now they were staring at humanity's hidden fleet. "All ships," Choi broadcast, "you are weapons-free. Show them what happens when you threaten our children." The first alien to die was a hegemony commander who had been bragging about the easy conquest of humanity. He was looking at his tactical display when human plasma cannons turned his dreadnought into expanding gas. His last thought was confusion. How had the humans gotten so close without being detected? Captain Kim Hyun-woo piloted his fighter through the chaos around the Council's primary shipyard. The massive facility had been building warships for 3,000 years. It would not see another day. His fighter squadron moved like a school of fish, impossible for the larger alien ships to target. "Fox 7 away," Kim called out as he released a nano-torpedo. The weapon was smaller than alien missiles but infinitely more deadly. It passed through the shipyard's shields like they didn't exist and began eating the station's hull from the inside out. On the Crystalline Empire's homeworld, Spymaster Yoon Da-yoon activated the hidden devices that humans had been secretly installing for years. Communication networks crashed. Defense systems turned on their own ships. Power grids failed across the planet. The Empire's crystal beings discovered that their perfect technology had been compromised by the primitive humans they had ignored. General Han Seok-jin watched the tactical display. From his command center, green dots represented human forces. Red dots were alien ships. As he watched, red dots began disappearing at an alarming rate. "Status report," he ordered. "Hegemony primary fleet down 60%. Crystalline Empire's home defense force neutralized. Scion Collective's communication network is completely offline." His aide's voice was steady, but Han could hear the amazement underneath. In space around the Council capital, Lieutenant Commander Lim Young-soo led his fighter wings against the ancient fortress that had dominated the galaxy for millennia. The station was massive, protected by shields that had never been breached. But human fighters were different from alien ships. They were small, fast, and operated by pilots who thought in 3 dimensions. "Targeting the shield generators," Lim called to his squadron. "Remember, we're not just fighting for humanity. We're fighting for every species they've enslaved." His fighters swarmed over the station's surface, placing charges on critical systems. The station's defenders tried to stop them, but they couldn't hit targets that moved like humanity's pilots. When the charges exploded, the ancient shields failed for the first time in recorded history. Dr. Park So-young monitored the battle from Earth, watching as her biological weapons did their work. For 50 years she had studied alien physiology. Now that knowledge was being used to devastating effect. Nanoviruses designed specifically for each alien species spread through their technology, causing systems to fail at critical moments. "The hegemony ships are losing atmosphere," she reported. "Their life support systems are failing exactly as predicted." Engineer Baek Ji-woo smiled grimly as reports came in from across the galaxy. Her adaptive weapons were performing perfectly. Every time alien shields adapted to one attack, the weapons reconfigured to use a different approach. The aliens had never faced technology that could think. Counselor Vextar stood in the council chamber as emergency reports flooded in. Each message was worse than the last. Fleets destroyed, worlds under attack, ancient strongholds falling to impossible human weapons. How? He demanded. How did they hide an entire fleet? How did they get inside our defenses? Counselor Murthan, the oldest being in the galaxy, slowly turned to face him. The ancient creature's many eyes held terrible understanding. "We taught them," Murthan said quietly. "For 50 years we taught them how to hate us." On the screen, a human transmission was being broadcast across all channels. Commander Lee Tae-ho spoke with the same calm voice he had used in the council chamber. But now there was steel underneath. "People of the galaxy," Lee said, "you have lived under the council's rule for thousands of years. You have been told this was for your own good. You have been told that younger species must serve older ones. Today, humanity rejects this lie." The transmission showed images of council atrocities. Species enslaved, worlds stripped bare, civilizations destroyed for refusing to submit. The evidence was overwhelming, collected by human agents over decades of patient investigation. "We did not start this war," Lee continued. But we will finish it. Every being in this galaxy deserves freedom. Every species has the right to choose its own path. The age of the Council's tyranny ends today. Across the galaxy, subjugated species watched in amazement as the primitive humans did what no one had dared to do in millennia. They were not just fighting the Council. They were winning. Captain Song Min-gyu led the assault on the Scion Collective's primary command world. The Scions were telepaths who had controlled other species through mental domination for centuries. But human minds were different. They were chaotic, unpredictable, and completely immune to Scion control. Mental shields are useless against us, Song broadcast to his fleet. They can't read minds that think in patterns they've never encountered. The Scion defenders found themselves fighting an enemy they couldn't understand or control. Human tactics made no sense to minds that had always imposed order through telepathy. Ships moved in formations that seemed random, but were actually based on ancient human military strategies. The Scions, for the first time in their history, felt fear. Admiral Choi received a priority transmission from one of his infiltration teams. Admiral, we've accessed the Council's secret archives. You need to see this. The files revealed the truth about the galaxy's history. The Council species hadn't always been tyrants. They had once been refugees, fleeing from an even greater threat. Their oppressive behavior was born from fear and paranoia, but that didn't excuse what they had become. Broadcast this, Choi ordered. Let the galaxy know the truth. As the truth spread, more species began to revolt against their Council overseers. The galaxy that had seemed so stable was revealed to be a prison built on lies and maintained by fear. Humanity's rebellion had started a chain reaction that would reshape galactic civilization. Dr. Kang Yunji prepared to activate her most terrible weapon. Intelligence reports indicated that the hegemony was preparing to use planet-killer bombs against human worlds. They would destroy entire populations rather than admit defeat. World-killer missiles ready? She reported to General Han. If they try to commit genocide, we can return the favor. But even as humanity demonstrated its power to destroy, Lee's message continued to broadcast hope for something better. This wasn't a war of conquest. It was a war of liberation. The humans weren't trying to replace the Council's tyranny with their own. They were trying to end tyranny altogether. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as the most impossible victory in history unfolded. The ancient Council, rulers for millennia, was being systematically dismantled by a species they had dismissed as clever animals. But the cost was terrible. Human ships died taking down alien dreadnoughts. Human soldiers gave their lives to protect innocent populations. Humanity was winning, but they were paying the price in blood. As the first day of war ended, the message was clear to every being in the galaxy. The humans had not just declared war on the Council. They had declared war on the very idea that might makes right, and they were willing to die to prove that freedom was worth any price. Fleet Admiral Oh Dong-hyun studied the battle reports with grim satisfaction. The initial surprise attacks had crippled the Council's military power. But now came the hard part. The aliens were regrouping and they were angry. Enemy fleet movements? He asked his intelligence officer. The hegemony is pulling ships from their outer territories. The Crystalline Empire is activating their reserve fleets. They're learning to work together for the first time in centuries. Oh nodded. The aliens were finally taking humanity seriously as a threat. That made them more dangerous but also more predictable. Fear made beings do stupid things. Captain Song Min-gyu led his battle group toward the Council's fortress world of Nexus Prime. The planet had never been successfully attacked in 3,000 years. Its orbital defenses could destroy entire fleets. But those defenses had been designed to fight other alien species, not humans. Remember the plan, Song broadcast to his ships. We're not trying to overwhelm their defenses. We're going to make them useless. His ships split into dozens of small groups, each one attacking from a different angle. The station's massive guns tried to target them. But they had been built to fight large alien dreadnoughts, not swarms of human fighters and frigates. Intelligence Chief Shin Era watched as her psychological warfare campaign spread across the galaxy. Human broadcasts showed the truth about Council atrocities, but they also showed something else. Human mercy. When alien crews surrendered, they were treated well. When alien colonies submitted, they were protected. The propaganda is working, she reported to Admiral O. 3 more species have declared independence from the Council. The Turian Confederacy just announced they're joining our side. O smiled. This was what separated humanity from the Council. Humans fought to liberate, not to conquer. Every victory brought them more allies. But not all aliens were willing to surrender. Viceroy Calresh of the Hegemony had gathered the largest alien fleet in recorded history, over 2,000 ships, each one larger and more powerful than anything humanity possessed. "We will crush these upstart mammals," Calresh declared to his fleet commanders. "They may have won through trickery and surprise, but in open battle, superior technology will prevail." The two fleets met in the empty space between star systems. On paper, it should have been a massacre. The alien ships outgunned the humans 10-1. Their shields were stronger, their weapons more powerful, their hulls thicker. But wars weren't won on paper. Admiral O had studied every major battle in human history, from ancient naval battles to the space conflicts that had united Earth under one government. He knew that bigger didn't always mean better. "All ships," he broadcast, "implement Wolfpack protocol. Hunt in groups, strike fast, fade away, make them chase shadows." The human fleet scattered into small attack groups, each one targeting a different section of the alien formation. The aliens tried to maintain their traditional battle line. But humans didn't fight traditionally. Captain Kim Hyunwoo dove his fighter squadron through the gap between two alien dreadnoughts, targeting the communication arrays that linked their shields. Without coordination, the massive alien ships became individual targets instead of a unified force. Lieutenant Commander Lim Young-soo led his wing against the alien flagship itself. The ship was massive, its shields seemingly impenetrable, but Lim had studied its design for months. Every ship had weaknesses if you knew where to look. "Target the shield generators at grid 77 Alpha," he called to his pilots. 3 ships, simultaneous attack. Make every shot count." The human torpedoes struck within milliseconds of each other, creating a cascade failure in the alien shield matrix. For just a moment, the flagship was vulnerable. That moment was all humanity needed. Admiral O's heavy cruisers poured fire through the gap in the shields. The alien flagship, pride of the Hegemony fleet, died in nuclear fire. With it died Viceroy Calresh and his dream of alien supremacy. The battle raged for 6 hours. When it ended, the alien fleet was destroyed. Of the 2,000 ships that had entered the battle, fewer than 300 survived to retreat. The human fleet had lost 60 ships, but they had broken the backbone of alien resistance. Dr. Kang Eun-ji monitored the quantum communicators as reports came in from across the galaxy. The aliens were becoming desperate. 3 different species had attempted to use planet-killer weapons against human colonies. All 3 attempts had failed. "The nanovirus has spread to their planet-killer systems," she reported. "They can't use their ultimate weapons without destroying themselves." But desperation made the aliens dangerous in other ways. Intelligence Chief Shin received reports of alien forces attacking neutral shipping, trying to cut off human supply lines. They were also targeting civilian populations, hoping to force humanity to divert military resources. "They're committing war crimes," Shin reported to Admiral O. "Attacking hospitals, refugee convoys, even children's schools." O felt his jaw clench. This was exactly what separated humanity from the Council. When humans were desperate, they fought harder. When aliens were desperate, they became monsters. Captain Song's assault on Nexus Prime reached its climax as human forces breached the planet's atmospheric defenses. The ancient fortress world had never fallen, but it had never faced an enemy like humanity. "All ground forces," Song broadcast, "remember the rules of engagement. Military targets only. Protect civilians. Show them we're better than their leaders." The battle for Nexus Prime became a symbol of humanity's character. Human soldiers could have leveled the planet's cities, but instead they fought house to house to protect innocent aliens from their own government's desperate actions. General Han Seok-jin coordinated the multi-front war from his command center. Reports came in from dozens of battlefields. The tide was turning. Alien species were surrendering in larger numbers. The Council's authority was collapsing, but the hardest battle was yet to come. The remaining Council leadership had retreated to their ultimate stronghold, the Dead Zone, a region of space filled with ancient weapons and automated defenses. If humanity wanted to end this war, they would have to face the accumulated military technology of a dozen species. Engineer Baek Ji-woo prepared for the final assault by upgrading human weapons with captured alien technology. The irony wasn't lost on her. The Council's own technology would be used to bring them down. Adaptive weapons upgraded with crystalline Empire shield penetrators, she reported. Stealth systems enhanced with Scion mental dampeners. Energy weapons augmented with hegemony power cores. Humanity had always been good at learning from their enemies. Now they would use everything they had learned to end this war once and for all. Dr. Park So-young studied the biological data from the dead zone. The region wasn't just defended by weapons. It was defended by automated systems that could distinguish between different species. Only council members were allowed to enter. We need to fool their biological scanners, she told Admiral O. I can modify our people at the genetic level. Make them appear to be council species. How long? O asked. 12 hours for the modifications to take effect. But Admiral, this is irreversible. The volunteers won't be fully human anymore. O looked around the command center at the young officers who had volunteered for the mission. They were willing to give up their humanity to save it. Do it, he said quietly. As the modified humans prepared for their infiltration mission, the galaxy held its breath. The war that had started with humanity's apparent surrender was about to end in the Council's most secret stronghold. The predators were closing in on their prey. But even in victory, humanity remembered what they were fighting for. This wasn't about revenge. It was about making sure no species would ever again suffer under the Council's tyranny. The final battle was coming, and with it, the chance to reshape the galaxy forever. President Ryu Jae-sung sat in his office overlooking the ruins of Geneva. The Council's final desperate attack had destroyed much of Earth's diplomatic quarter, but it had failed to break humanity's spirit. Now, with the Council's military forces shattered, came the harder task of building peace. The communication display showed the faces of dozens of alien representatives. Some were former Council species begging for mercy. Others were liberated species asking for guidance. All of them waited for humanity's decision on their fate. The war is over, Ryu announced to the galaxy, but the work of justice has just begun. Ambassador Nam Hyejin stood beside him, carrying the weight of negotiations that would reshape galactic civilization. She had been preparing for this moment since the war began, studying the files captured from Council archives. Each species will be judged on their actions, not their allegiance, Nam explained to the assembled representatives. Those who committed war crimes will face justice. Those who were forced to serve will be offered redemption. Those who actively helped liberate others will be welcomed as equals. War crimes investigator Ko Tae-young had spent months documenting Council atrocities. His evidence painted a picture of systematic oppression stretching back millennia. Entire species enslaved, worlds stripped of resources, civilizations destroyed for refusing to submit. The hegemony leadership ordered the use of biological weapons against civilian populations, Ko reported. The Crystalline Empire used slave labor to build their crystal gardens. The Scion Collective performed mind control experiments on captured enemies. But Ko's investigation also revealed something else. Many aliens had been victims too. Low-ranking soldiers forced to follow orders. Scientists whose research was twisted for military use. Civilians who had never known their governments were committing atrocities. Former Counselor Quindal had become humanity's most valuable ally in understanding alien psychology. The insectoid being had risked everything to provide intelligence during the war. Now she helped other species understand that humanity's goal wasn't conquest. The humans could have simply replaced us as galactic rulers, Quindal explained to a gathering of alien representatives. Instead, they offer something the galaxy has never seen. True democracy based on merit and cooperation. Not all humans supported President Ryu's merciful approach. General Park Sang-wook led a faction of military officers who believed in establishing human supremacy. We won this war through strength, Park argued at a heated cabinet meeting. The aliens will respect nothing else. If we show weakness now, they'll rebuild their forces and attack us again. Ryu understood the fear behind Park's words. Humanity had sacrificed millions of lives to win this war. The temptation to prevent future threats through dominance was strong. But it was also wrong. If we become what we fought against, then we've lost everything that made this war worth fighting, Ryu replied. We didn't defeat the Council to become the new Council. Dr. Park So-young worked with alien scientists to develop the framework for the new galactic government. The solution came from studying humanity's own history of conflict and cooperation. The new Galactic Federation will be based on contribution, not age or military power, she explained. Species earn representation through peaceful advancement, technological innovation, and cooperation with others. The proposal was revolutionary. For the first time in galactic history, government would be based on what beings built, not what they could destroy. Engineer Baek Ji-woo led the effort to share human technology with former enemies. Many humans questioned giving advanced weapons to aliens who had recently tried to destroy them, but Baek understood the larger strategy. By sharing our technology, we make ourselves necessary, she explained. They need us to maintain and improve their systems. That gives us influence without requiring dominance. The approach worked. Species that had fought against humanity began to see the benefits of cooperation. Human technology was more adaptable than their own. Human tactics were more effective. Human leadership was more fair. Captain Kim Hyun-woo established the new Federation Training Academy, where beings from different species learned to work together. The early classes were tense. Former enemies had to learn to trust each other. Today, you're not hegemony or crystalline or human, Kim told his mixed species class. You're Federation officers. Your loyalty is to the beings beside you, regardless of what species they are. Slowly, the program began to work. Young beings who had grown up during the war started to see past species differences. They worked together naturally, combining their different strengths to solve problems. Admiral Choi Min-ho faced the challenge of dismantling the Council's military infrastructure while maintaining galactic security. Many alien weapons were too dangerous to leave intact, but some were needed to defend against external threats. We're not defenseless, he reported to President Ryu, but we're also not the military dictatorship some aliens expected. Our strength comes from unity, not fear. Intelligence Chief Shin A-ra discovered something troubling in the captured Council archives. References to an external threat that had driven the Council species to their paranoid behavior centuries ago. Something was coming from outside the galaxy. The Council wasn't just power-hungry, she reported. They were preparing for a threat they believed would return. Their oppression was born from fear. The revelation changed how humanity viewed their former enemies. The Council had been wrong to oppress other species, but their fear had been real. Now that fear was humanity's responsibility. War crimes investigator Ko struggled with the complexity of justice. How do you punish beings who committed atrocities while they were following orders? How do you balance justice with the need for reconciliation? Some crimes are too terrible to forgive, Ko concluded, but some criminals can be redeemed. The challenge is knowing the difference. The solution came from studying human history, truth and reconciliation commissions, restorative justice, ways to acknowledge harm while building toward a better future. Ambassador Nam negotiated the final details of the Federation Charter. The document would govern galactic civilization for generations to come. Every word mattered. The Charter guarantees the right of self-determination for all species, she announced to the galaxy. No being will be forced to join the Federation, but those who choose cooperation will find protection and prosperity. Former Counselor Quindal helped other species understand the choice they faced. Join the Federation as equals or remain independent but isolated. Most chose cooperation. Dr. Kang Yoonji faced the question of what to do with humanity's most terrible weapons. The planet killers had been built to defend against genocide. Now they were a reminder of the war's cost. We keep them, President Ryu decided, but under Federation control, not just human control. There'll be a guarantee that no species will ever again face extinction for refusing to submit. As the Federation took shape, signs of hope appeared throughout the galaxy. Former slave species began rebuilding their civilizations. Trade routes reopened under Federation protection. Scientific cooperation produced advances no single species could have achieved alone. Young cadet John Min-soo represented the new generation growing up in the integrated galaxy. Born during the war, he had never known a time when species couldn't work together. I don't understand why anyone fought over differences, he told Captain Kim during training. Everyone brings something useful to the team, Kim smiled. That attitude was exactly what humanity had fought to create. A galaxy where differences were strengths, not sources of conflict, but challenges remained. Some council species had fled to the galaxy's edge, swearing revenge. Pirates took advantage of the transition period to raid shipping. Most troubling of all, long-range sensors detected massive ships approaching from outside the galaxy. The external threat the Council feared is real, Intelligence Chief Shin reported, and it's coming. President Ryu looked out at the stars knowing that humanity's greatest test was yet to come. They had proven they could defeat tyranny. Now they had to prove they could build something better. The galaxy watched and waited. Humanity had kept its promise to end the Council's oppression. But promises were easy compared to the work of building lasting peace. The real test would come when the external threat arrived. Would the new Federation hold together? Would former enemies stand with humanity against a common foe? Would the galaxy humanity had fought to liberate be worth defending? Those questions would be answered soon. In the distance, ancient engines powered ships larger than moons, carrying beings that had once ruled this galaxy and wanted it back.